welcome to my channel, Fife and Flow. Today we are going to be talking about mine and my husband's Big-Duro bikes. Okay, so a quick intro about my bike. I have my Fazari LaSalle Peak with the Öhlins DH38, which is pretty sweet. And then my personal favorite thing on the bike is this FSA oil slick stem because oil slick is so hot right now. Some other highlights are my EXT Storia coil and my FSA SLK cranks. Also, before we get roasted in the comment section, we did just barely get back from Whistler, and so that's why our bikes are dirty. I know, I need to get better at it, but it is what it is. Sweet. I'm excited. Okay, first time on the dual crown at the park, so it was pretty amazing. I have my LaSalle Peak, and then I have a 200mm fork up front, and it was amazing. Normally I get like really sore hands, and even one year I had my index fingers go numb for a few days, so that was kind of scary. And so having to, I don't know, we pretty much rode most of the day, and having the ability to go like this without pain is pretty amazing. So definitely makes a difference, and yeah, it was so much fun. I'm really looking forward to a lot of time at the park this year.
So we still have to survive tomorrow.
My hands surprisingly feel pretty good.
I'm feeling better than I was.
Yeah, once I warmed up, my hands started feeling much better.
Big fork, big hands.
Big fork does something! Because normally my hands are totally seized and crampy. Adding a dual crown to my enduro bike was a success. However, I wish I could say the same about Andrew's experience.
Hey, my name is Andrew Fife. I'm Danica's husband, and this is my Caven's VHP 18. It's a prototype model, so the production version's a little bit different, where the down tube placement is a little bit better, so you have more room for the shock. Some of the highlights are an EXT Arma for 180mm of travel. It's a 27.5 rear wheel and a 29 front. And then it also is a high pivot, which I'll show you some shots of that later on. Some of the standout things on this build are some FSA gradient cranks. They're 165, so I have tons of room for pedal strikes and avoiding those. And then I'll show you one other thing about in a minute that's on my other bike, but this is a 240mm dropper, which is super cool because the seat goes way out of the way. But before that, I had a different solution, and it's on my e-bike now where I can actually tilt my seat, which is super cool. And then the matching FSA oil slick stem with Danica is pretty fun. I've got FSA gradient bars. Owry grips are still my favorite grip I've ever used. For 15 bucks and a can of spray paint, they just stay on forever. Super cushy. And then I've got some matching silver pieces for my Chromag Daga pedals. Showing the wolf tooth. Little end caps here, and then the silver accents on my Manitou Dorado. The Manitou Dorado is it's a whole other story, and it's not a good one, so I'll hit that later. But my most exciting thing on this bike at the moment, because my switch grade isn't on it, is this rotor. This is a Galfer 246mm rotor. It's the biggest one on earth. You cannot buy a bigger rotor. That maybe someone makes one in their garage, but look at all the adapters here. So it's supposed to give you a little bit more stopping power and a little bit more bite, and so far I'm a huge fan. 203 TRP 2.3mm rotor here, 223 TRP 2.3, and the 246 2.3 from Galfer. Massive rotors for massive boys. Alright, so the Dorado saga has been an adventure. I had a DH38, which Danica has now, and I've got another one of those on order. The Dorado was supposed to be super cool, and in some ways it's awesome, and I think for a lot of people it would be a good option. It's got a dual positive air chamber, so really cool air spring. It has an inverted design, so the seals are always lubricated. and it's supposed to have pretty good brake force stiffness as well. The thing that I did is I got a 27.5 crown, so the short offset crown for the handling I wanted, and I put it up to the 29er setting, which you can do, and they recommend that it's a possibility if your head tube is short enough. I actually had to get a short stack Cane Creek headset in order to make that happen, but that worked out fine. So I've got the clearance, it all works out, and I was pretty excited about it. And in a straight line, it's awesome. In off-camber stuff, it's awesome. For me, I've had some problems, and I've heard other people have had this too, in riding situations where you really slap a turn hard, such as going to Whistler Bike Park, then your wheel comes out of alignment. So it seems as if the carbon stanchions are moving within the crowns. Maybe that's the case, maybe something else is going on. It's happened to me to the left, it's happened to the right, but either way I come out of a turn and my bars aren't straight, which is terrifying and pretty upsetting. So I worked with Hayes and Dirt Merchant is the shop I got them from. I've tried over and over again to explain that this fork does not function in a riding scenario because it twists. No crashes, it's never been crashed, and it's not very old, and they have no good suggestions really to fix my problem. I did put a bunch of carbon paste, maybe that fixed the twisting, I don't know. I've lost all the confidence I have in it, so I'll hopefully never find out. I'm just gonna sell it. But the biggest problem for me, because I think that won't happen to very many people, the biggest problem for me is that the fork has resonance when I brake. So I've tried 2 different brakes, 4 different rotors, and 2 different rotor sizes, and 4 brake compounds, none of which were contaminated at the time of testing. So what happens is, as I hit the front brake on something that's steep or pretty grippy, like a good rock roll, where I need control of my brake, it loses a little bit of power and it starts humming, and then eventually the vibration gets so bad that my finger gets knocked off the brake lever, or it's pretty stressful, and it's so loud that you cannot think, you cannot focus, and this current combination I have is the best that it is, and it's still horrible. So I think, you know, Hayes said that they've had resonance before on some other frame, and they got a smaller rotor, and maybe that would fix it, but I won't run smaller than a 223. That's just not an option for my size and riding style and location. So this fork is for sale. Hopefully it's sold by the time you see it, and I'm replacing it with an Öhlins DH38. But yeah, so you know, I had a horrible experience with Hayes. Not a big fan. Their customer service didn't do what I wanted it to do at all, because in my mind it's a non-functioning product from the box. But I think if you're smaller, or if you're not just smashing turns, then I don't think it's going to be an issue. And in that case, the damping's great, the air spring is great. It's a really cool fork, and it's got some interesting design choices going on. So I'm not going to tell you don't buy one, but if you are me and you could go back in time, never in my life would I have done this. So that's what I have to say about it.
I'd love to take a moment to thank Competitive Cyclists for sponsoring this video. One item I've been using often and on all my bikes is their specialized floor pump. Pick one up for yourself at competitivecyclist.com. Thank you for listening to our Big-Duros experiences. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. To support my channel, make sure to hit that subscribe and like button. Now I hope you go and find some flow. Oh, I did not want to take that line.